continued walking, and we had no choice. He forced us to go out in the water to get him.
You always have a choice.
He forced us. Yeah. You're also being arrested because you were advised earlier to exit the beach.
Okay.
You refused to help me get your husband out of the water.
We have with us today Theresa Buccola, and let me introduce you guys to her really quick. July 4th, 2020, Theresa Buccola was arrested at the Carmel by the Sea beach for being in a restricted access area that was closed off due to COVID restrictions. 5 years later, Theresa has beaten the charges, and she's done this pro se without an attorney. Am I right? Did you beat these charges?
Yes, I beat 3 charges. It was for entering a disaster area. It was actually July 3rd.
I was looking at the
Yeah.
body cam footage, and the body cam footage, if I'm not mistaken, says July 4th.
What's your location?
Was that off?
All their body camera footages have been tampered with. They all have the wrong times, and some of them even have the wrong dates.
Whoa.
And I reported that court last year, and I'm still fighting it. But yeah, that the body camera footage was wrong.
Well, you had to go because your husband refused to get out of the water when he's instructed multiple times to.
Okay.
So let's start from the beginning, the arrest. You want to talk to us about that?
So this was about 4 months into the COVID thing, and I was getting sick and tired of everything that how they were dominating us. And I did not think that I was going to do what I did, but when I saw that they had, they announced we're closing our beach. And I just went down there to have a look, and then I saw a band of pirates laying siege to the beach. I mean, that's the best way to put it. And there was a crowd of people behind the police tape. They had strung police tape the entire length of the beach. And there was one police vehicle patrolling the water's edge, terrifying everybody from going out onto the sand. And I was seething. And I did call to the crowd. I said, hey, the beach is a gift from God. The state doesn't own it. We have a duty to go out there and stand against it. Who's with me? And nobody would join me. So I went out there by myself in the hopes that I could talk the 2 officers out of it. I'd already called the police department about 3 hours before, and I spoke to the officer that wound up arresting me. And this was 2 weeks after the city manager and the mayor had done a vlog, and they invited people from around the country to visit the beach. They said the great outdoors are always open. Please come. We're not going to close the beach. And then that morning, they changed their mind. And a tourist had come to the beach for that weekend, and he was walking his dog in the ocean, and 3 Carmel by the Sea police officers attacked him from behind. They ambushed him and slammed his head into the water. He lost his iPhone. It must have been incredibly humiliating for him and I caught on audio the crowd watching this, and they said, oh my God, they just took that guy down. And then they drove back to me. They thought he was my husband. I didn't know him. And then they threw me in the torture cuffs, started rifling through my belongings, making jokes with one another, and then took me to the police department. I got molested a second time. It's not searching, it's molesting. You got somebody putting their hands all over you when you can't do anything, you're being molested. And I was taken to the jail 25 miles away, molested for a 3rd time with 4 people in the room. I was in jail, I think, for 7 or 8 hours. They took my mace from me, and then I was ejected at 2:30 in the morning, and they didn't care if I got home, how I got home, and I had to take a $100 cab ride to get back home. So that's how it started, and that was today, 5 years ago.
Why was it so important for you not to take a plea bargain? Was it so important for you to go all the way and fight this?
And we gave him warnings that if he continues, that he will be arrested for 2 different offenses, right? And he just continued walking, and we had no choice. He forced us to go out in the water to get him.
You always have a choice.
Stop with that.
He forced
Okay,
us.
so drop your back. You're going to go to jail with him.
Because you were advised earlier to exit the beach. You refused to help me get your husband out of the water when I asked you to. Okay, so now you're also going to jail. Okay? So you will only be charged with violating the first for entering a closed area. Okay, as long as you don't resist or anything, that's the only thing you'll be charged with. You understand? So you're gonna need to provide your information. Okay, when you get booked at county jail, you're both going to county jail. If you fail to provide that information, they will keep you as long as they need for you to provide your information. So if you continue to non-cooperate with them or us, basically you'll be held.
Because to me that would be slavery. That first they humiliate you, they touch you, you don't want them to touch you, they make jokes at your expense, and then I was going to say later that I did something wrong. That's not how I operate. And I was told to get an attorney, to take a plea, because it's so hard to get criminal charges dismissed. And my attitude was, first of all, I was absolutely livid at what they had done. And then, I think I went back to the police department 6 months later to try to get the body camera footage, and then I got literally attacked by the same cop.
Whatever, okay. There is another matter that we have to deal with, so you have an outstanding warrant for your arrest.
Where's the warrant?
So we're getting a copy of it. So what we'll do is as a gesture, okay, we're gonna just cite you out on your warrant, or we could take you to jail. Which one would you rather prefer?
Have you seen the warrant?
Yes.
Where is it?
It's being printed.
You can't have a copy.
Why not?
Why not? You're asking me? You're law enforcement.
But why else would we know there's a warrant if we hadn't seen it?
Don't you understand the law? You're supposed to have
Absolutely.
an original of the warrant in your hand with a wet ink signature from the judge. Where is it? Really? You want me to supply the penal code?
So a warrant
that shows
can
that
be
you are
transferred.
supposed to.
A
Oh no,
warrant
it
can be
can't.
transferred.
Oh
It can.
no, it can't.
It can.
Do you want to see the warrant?
So do you want to go to jail, or do you want me to cite you out? Well, which one?
You are not going to do either, because I'll tell you right
Okay,
now.
go ahead and turn around. Hey.
Okay,
You're live right now. You're live. You're live.
You are agreeing to pay me $10 million.
Take your hands off of her right now. You're depriving her of her rights.
Wow. If you deprive me of my, I am going to sue you
Carmel
for $10 million.
Yeah, look at that.
The Carmel police.
This is, you are
Oh
Hey,
God,
hey,
you guys
unnecessary.
are unbelievable. You're unbelievable. Stop telling me. You're unbelievable. Unbelievable.
No, we are not getting back.
Depriving people of their rights. You have no right to do any of
You
this
don't tell
crap.
us anything.
You don't
You're
tell me.
criminals.
Tell us anything.
You don't tell me. Who are you? You're a servant.
You guys are on notice. You're
You haven't
depriving
You
been
will always.
dismissed.
What's your name?
Are you depriving me of my
Maldonado
liberty?
G.
You're a little kid.
You are kidnapping me.
Criminal.
You have not
Get away from me.
Don't touch her.
Don't touch
You
me.
better
This is
stop.
assault.
You better
This is
stop.
assault.
Arrest me
You're
on a
going to be
defective
arrested
warrant.
now.
You are not
gonna be
permitted to
arrested
arrest me
now.
on a defective
How
warrant.
dare you touch
You are
anybody?
committing a felony. You are
Wow,
committing
you
a
guys are the
felony.
criminals.
Jay
You're a
Boucher.
disgrace. Is this what
Boucher.
you wished for?
You
Growing
are
up?
committing a felony arresting me on a
This is
I'm
defective
holding
warrant.
you a thug
This is
out.
an unpermitted
I'm
warrant. It
hoping
was
you
not
get
signed
some.
by a judge, and you know it. Get your hands off of
You're
her.
going to be
Insane.
You
sued.
will be
You're
served.
insane.
You would be
You're
sued.
Insane. Who is this officer? What is your name and badge number? You thugs. What's your name and badge
Don't
number,
touch
sir?
my stuff.
Don't touch any of our things.
Back up.
What's your name and badge number?
I'm going to own this police department.
Oh yeah,
guys,
you
don't worry
are.
about it.
What a bunch of thugs. Wow.
Call Fritz
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
and Sue Ann.
You guys are thugs.
I take your
You are
bracelet.
criminals.
you
You
guys
don't
back
even
up
know
a
what.
little bit? I have
No,
no
we don't have
problem
to
if
do
you film, but
anything.
just back up.
You're
Why?
awful.
My
You're
sister.
awful. You
You
thug.
back up.
My sister.
You're the criminals.
Who's got our number?
You're the criminals.
It's in the phone.
Wow.
Do you have a code?
Wow.
Do
You have her phone.
I
right?
do. Do you have a
Wow,
code
but you're
to
doing
get on your
live.
phone?
You are not permitted
This
to
is
arrest me on a
amazing.
defective warrant.
This is coming out of your own money.
Yeah,
know
you
that,
can't
right?
take
You
her
guys have
with
no
her.
right.
You be sued personally.
Violated your own.
Wow.
You violated your own.
Yeah, you're impersonating
You
a
arrested
police
someone.
officer.
Where's the warrant? Do you have it in your possession? Do you have it in your possession? You do not. You illegally arrested her for
Oh my
nothing.
gosh.
Wow.
Florence.
I got your
Wow.
Where is
bracelet.
the warrant?
Wow.
Where's the signed warrant? Where is
Wow.
it? Where is
Wow.
it? Where's the signed
You're a
warrant?
criminal.
Where is it?
Criminal.
Where's the signed warrant?
You're a disgrace.
Where is it?
Are you
Shame
Where
on
is it?
you.
You guys are violating liberty and rights.
Shame on you.
You're criminals.
And then I was in jail for 24 hours. So I was irate. And my attitude at the time was I would rather die than plead guilty or pay a fine. And incidentally, the tourist that I was arrested with, he did take a plea and he paid $75 for what they did to him. And I would honestly rather leave the plane. So, and I was just, I don't like losing. You know,
Right.
I like winning, and I had to win. I had to win.
What was the final outcome? Were your charges dismissed? Did you go to trial? Did you beat it that way?
I tried a whole bunch of things in between. I tried revoking my signature. I tried going to court. I tried not going to court. I applied for injunctive relief from the federal judge after I filed the suit, because I filed the suit with the charges outstanding. He denied that. Then I wrote a writ of mandate, which took me 2 months working full time, where I really went deep into how the courts actually operate. And I shredded penal codes and government codes. I submitted that to the appellate superior. They denied it. And by it was July of 2023, I was going through waves of desperation. So I thought, I'm never going to get out of this. I'm like going to be living under these supposed warrants and criminal charges forever. So then I went back into court and got threatened a number of times by the judge. He said, you really have to understand your situation. You could get taken into custody right now. You know, even in the moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going back to jail again. But I still wasn't yielding. And I uttered just a few words out of the writ, and I got interrupted mid-sentence by the prosecutor. And she said, Your Honor, I think we have something that could save the court a lot of time. We're going to dismiss all the charges in the interest of justice. And so I left the courthouse a free woman. And as soon as I did, I bawled for about 10 minutes outside the courthouse. So yeah, that's how I did it.
So did you fight the criminal charges, and are you filing the lawsuit, all of this pro se without an attorney? How did this happen?
Yes, it's all without an attorney. I tried to find an attorney right after I got arrested, and I couldn't find one. They thought that, they had the right to close the beach or whatever nonsense it was that they were uttering at the time. And I met someone that was pro se, and he convinced me to do it myself. Now, he and I have since parted ways, and it's a good thing because he realized he was not going to be able to take me all the way to the end. And so that was 3 years ago. I filed a federal lawsuit pro se. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing at the time. My original complaint was a train wreck. An absolute train wreck, but I kept studying and refining, and they got sharper and sharper. So, yeah.
So you're still in the process of this whole going to court for the lawsuit, right? Where are we at regarding that?
Yes. I had 7 defendants. I had the county for conspiring with Carmel to incarcerate people for walking on the beach. Then I had 4 officers, the city manager, and the city of Carmel. And they got 2 separate firms. So there were 6 defendants that hired one firm in LA. And then Monterey County, the sheriff's department hired Monterey County Council. So I was battling 2 firms and learning about, a failure to state a claim, and constantly trying to understand where the judge was coming from and to please him. And then you have to get discovery. And discovery is all the, it's pro se university. I could explain it if people don't already know. Discovery is either when you have criminal charges filed against you, or you have filed a lawsuit. It's like the evidence to prove your position, okay? And I started asking for my discovery from Carmel, and both Monterey and Carmel, 6 months after my first arrest. The body camera, video surveillance, dash cam, certain records, complaints on the officers, and I think they disclosed it was a small portion of body camera footage. And the city attorney for Carmel and both the sheriff's department, they would generate all these false authorities about why they weren't going to disclose it. So I sent both of them what is called litigation hold memos, a number of them, either an email. Carmel actually got served one by a process server. I said, hey, if you're not going to disclose these records now, you have to maintain them. Don't throw any of them away. So then they hired this attorney in LA, and then I had to start fighting with him to get the discovery. And he would say, oh yes, we're going to disclose it by this day, and then he wouldn't disclose it. Now this is now years. I've been trying to get some of this body camera footage, I think 2.5 or 3 years at this point. And he would say, oh yeah, well, we're still in the process of putting it together. Then he'd say, well, we're going to have it by this day. Then that day would come and I would get more excuses. Then we would schedule meetings that called meet and confers with both attorneys. And okay, if you haven't disclosed them, when are you going to? And so he'd give me another date. So this went on for a year where you keep fighting with them. Okay. Then we have discovery hearing. We have 12B6 hearing. So and then he would say, okay, we're going to disclose these records. And then later he would change his mind. So all the emails and texts on their cell phones and those that get sent through private government on private servers on computers. It's a 2017 California Supreme Court ruling, City of San Jose versus Superior Court. I think we talked about this last time, David. And all the judges in that court decided that those are not private, even on their cell phones. Okay, if it has to do with the people's business, we get to receive. Okay, so this attorney, Jonathan Redford, said, yeah, we're going to disclose them. Then I had a meeting with him. He said, oh, yeah, we're not going to disclose them. Those are private. And I said, well, you know about City of San Jose? He goes, yeah, I know, but we're not going to disclose them. Okay, so I was sick to the back teeth of this guy, okay? And then I figured out that he never filed a notice of appearance. And this is when Pandora's box opened up, okay? So I file a motion to strike all of his documents because he didn't file this notice. He didn't become an attorney of record. Now, this is 1.5 years into litigation. And then he has to respond. And when he responds, he blames me for not bringing this up sooner. He never mentions what I find out later. What I find out, I think it's 2.5 or 3 weeks later, is that he never became licensed to practice law in that court. So in federal court, in all the different districts and circuit courts, you have to become a member of the bar of that court. You have to file a petition. So they make sure you're in good standing and you have solid ethics and all that stuff. I found out 3 weeks later he wasn't admitted to practice law in that court. So I filed a motion for reconsideration, which was a lot of research and detail. 2 weeks later, the firm withdrew him from the case, and then he lost his 20-year partnership in the firm. He was a member of the bar of California, but he was not a member of the bar of that court.
And you did your own research, your own investigation, and you're the one that found this out?
Yes.
Good job.
And I can't tell you how much glee I get thinking about him having to pack up his boxes. And he's got to leave his friends, which he no doubt had in the firm, and they probably went on vacation together. And I'm just a pro se litigant punk, and I'm a woman, right? That's really had to chop his ass. Okay, so the court is not acknowledging any of this. And what happens is I file that motion on March 20th. I said, hey, this guy didn't have the authority to attach a paperclip to my case. Here's all the documents that he filed. You need to strike. Now he's not an attorney of record. He's not in practice on that court. You need to strike all those documents. 2 days later, Judge Cousins from the Northern District grants Redford's motion. So he completely ignores all of the facts. He's not protecting my rights. He's protecting the government's interests. Okay, so the court doesn't acknowledge that for 4 months. And the only reason he has to finally is because I will not let it go. I'm like a pit bull on a bone. And we have conferences, and I say, what are we doing about Redford's documents? What are we doing? So I won't let him talk about anything else. Every time I submit a document, I say, what are we doing? Okay, so the firm withdraws Redford from the case, and they replace him with 2 attorneys, Thomas Fay, Esther Teixeira. I find out, okay, that was April 2nd. I find out on August 10th that Esther Teixeira made the identical mistake on the same day as Jonathan Redford.
Oh, wow.
She forgets to become admitted to practice law in that court. And she's an associate. She's like a brand new lawyer. And so the firm pulls him out of the case and replaces him with 2 attorneys, and one makes the same mistake. And she writes on her notice of appearance, I am Esther Teixeira, and I am authorized to practice law in this court, except that she wasn't, okay? So I find that again. And it slips through the judge's awareness and the clerk's, okay? So August, is it 19th, I file a judicial notice, and I'm like, hey, you guys did it again, okay? And then finally, it's July 11th, I think, the judge finally stops ignoring this. And he demands that Redford try to explain what he did. How'd you make this mistake? So Redford's blaming his secretary. The other guy, Thomas Fay, is saying, well, he retired. If I find out later, he didn't retire. They're all blaming each other. And that what winds up happening is that both Jonathan Redford and his entire firm, Carpenter, Rothins, and Dumont, are referred to the Standing Committee on Professional Conduct for investigation and remedial discipline as the committee deems necessary.
So do you know if they go back and look at any of their previous cases as well? Because you would think that if they were practicing law within the courts, decisions were made and they were not even licensed to practice in that court. Do you know if they did go back and look at any other cases?
Actually, that is in his order. That's in Judge Cousin's order. And I don't remember exactly the words verbatim. He says something like, the court is concerned in all matters in which Carpenter, Rothins, and Dumont practice before the court. So, yeah.
Wow.
All of them, yeah. And I'm still just a pro se litigant punk and and a woman, and now the entire firm is under investigation. Oh, and so let me talk about Thomas Fay. So Thomas Fay is also a brand new attorney, and now I have to deal with this guy. All right, and let me also say, this entire thing was unconstitutional. It was under the color of law. They never had the authority to, quote unquote, close the beach. It's Article 10, Section 4. The city manager didn't have the authority to declare a disaster area due to a pandemic. The whole thing was like stupid, okay? And these attorneys, they have no morality. They just do it for a paycheck. It's not anything that inspires them. So now I have to deal with Thomas Fay. So I have to see him in hearings. You can hear it in his voice. He is limp. He's weak. He has no force behind him, but yet he's still carrying on this, siege of the beach. And then I'm gunning for him. So first I get rid of Redford, then I also get 4 attorneys admonished. I haven't been able to figure it out. I don't think it's a sanction, or it's like the lowest form of a sanction. Okay, it's a warning. They get a warning. I got 4 of them warned. 2 of them, like I said, referred over to the committee. And then I start watching Fay like a hawk. And I discovered that he engaged in ex parte communication, which means the people are not aware of what that is. It's when the lawyers are communicating with the court without the other party involved. Okay, that's strictly prohibited. The courtroom, a temporary courtroom deputy accidentally sent me the ex parte communication that Faye was having with the court. So I reported that. He twice committed perjury. I mean, I don't know what these guys were thinking, because you say you can't get in touch with me, and then you submit that under penalty of perjury when I have the records that I was in touch with you. Okay, so he twice committed perjury, ex parte communication. When I tried to settle this matter with these guys last year, I said, hey, let me talk with your clients. Maybe this doesn't have to go any further. You don't know what I want to settle for. Let's just sit down face to face and have a talk. Thomas Faye said, oh, well, no, we can't do it in person because the city manager, his name is Chip Rarick. He's the one that ordered his standing army to attack us for walking on the ocean. He can't make it because he's going to be convalescing on his back all week from surgery. He has to do it by remote. Then the building inspector makes an announcement the week before, hey, we're so happy to have Chip Rarick back to work next week. Okay? I try to bring this up to the judge. He doesn't want to hear it. What were some of the other things? Can we hold on? There's like 10 things that I reported about Thomas Faye, and I want to make sure that I get them all.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So he claimed that Redford had retired. Redford hadn't retired. He and Redford give conflicting reasons for why Redford sustained his unauthorized practice. So now they're both under investigation by the standing committee. And I reported that, and then the judge acknowledged it. Let me see what else there was. Oh, he submits a deficient declaration. So the court ordered him to submit a declaration as to why all of my evidence had been destroyed. He submitted it without firsthand personal knowledge and forgetting to swear under penalty of perjury. Okay, so I report all of this to the Ninth Circuit because now I'm in the appeal, all right? And it was, my appellate brief was on April 28th. A week and a half later, he withdraws from the case, and I just realized something. Okay, so a week and a half later, he withdraws from the case. And then I file it's a motion for a miscellaneous relief in the Ninth Circuit. And then I barrage all the partners in the firm over his unethical behavior. Because according to the state bar, I think it's Rule 5.1, managerial responsibility, all the partners are responsible for the behavior of their subordinates. So I think I hit them with a series of 2 for each partner, reporting what Faye had done. And then not only does Thomas Faye withdraw from the case, but then he also moves on to another firm. So another attorney got canned.
They messed with the wrong one. So obviously people are really interested in pro se litigation. You've obviously had to learn a lot along the way. And you just mentioned you're in the Ninth Circuit in the appellate court. That's because they denied your initial lawsuit, right? That's why you're in the appellate of this, or how does that work?
Yes. So what happened was, it didn't matter what I reported to the judge in the Northern District. Okay, so in federal court there is the district court, which is the lower court. And then if you don't get satisfaction there, you appeal to the Ninth Circuit. And then if you don't get satisfaction there, you appeal to the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, okay? There's state court and federal courts. I'm in federal court. And I reported spoliation, which is destruction of evidence. I reported unauthorized practice, not becoming attorneys of record, violating court-ordered discovery. So he said, okay, to the defendants, you guys have to disclose all these records by this date. That date would come and go, and they wouldn't disclose anything. Then I reported to the court, and I would say, okay, I need more time for the next complaint because I don't have any of my discovery. And the judge would say, I don't care. And he never acknowledged any of that the fact that they had violated court orders. They were committing perjuries left, right, and center. I was reporting, I think it was 6 perjuries that I reported that the attorneys, along with, she was like the custodian of records at the sheriff's department. I reported that. He never acknowledged any of that. Let me see, there was spoliation, destruction. They were violating his own standing orders. So the judge, if you go to their webpage, they have standing orders. And the attorneys were brazenly violating their judge's standing orders. I would report that to the judge and he would ignore it. Then I would report it again and he would ignore it. Okay, so this went on for about 8 months so I can't get the identities of the sheriff's deputies. I can't get the intake health screening that I was forced to undergo. I can't get the copies of the warrants that were issued for my arrest. I can't get legitimate declarations about why all my evidence got destroyed. So this goes on for 8 months until he dismisses my case because, I swear this is true, I didn't disclose my pay stubs and my journal entries on the case. He dismisses the case. And incidentally, all discovery, every single request was submitted by Jonathan Redford, who admitted in his confession, I think it was 250, ECF 250, he said, I exercised privileges for a period of time of which I was not entitled to. Okay, so it's on the record that he didn't have the authority to submit discovery to me. So I refused to comply with discovery. So the judge dismissed the case because I didn't, you cannot dismiss my case because I refused to violate my own due process rights. Okay, so I got them all sort of like in a knot. So he dismissed the case on October 24th, and you have to file a notice of appeal within 30 days. And I went to do that in Pacer, and I had been able to file every document up until that point. That day, I cannot file my notice of appeal. So I get all these errors. I have it in the mail the following business day, Monday. I think that postmarking it is as good as filing it. Apparently it's not.
Wow.
It's to be filed with the clerk on the 30th day. So she gets it 2 days late. Then, the judge is, oh, by the way, I should also talk about Judge Cousins for a second. So I file judicial notices all over the place, reporting the spoliation and the unauthorized practice, the fact that Redford didn't admit in his last document he filed, he forgot to mention that he wasn't authorized to practice on that court. Okay, sometimes the judge will rule on the notices, other times he just ignores them. I got threatened a number of times with sanctions because I was reporting perjuries. So he was threatening me to sanction me for reporting the fact that these guys were committing perjury within federal litigation, okay? So he weighs in, I think it's like January. He's like, oh, well, we don't have the jurisdiction to say it was timely, but it was untimely. We're going to rule that it wasn't timely. Okay, so I have to file the appeal in the appellate court, and then the attorneys file a motion to dismiss because the appeal was late. Then the appellate court dismisses the appeal because it was 2 days late. And it was May 14th, and I went into a total tailspin because I thought the whole thing was over, that 5 years of my life had gone down the drain, and I couldn't sleep. And I've had many sleepless nights throughout this whole ordeal. And the next day, I was like catatonic, and then a friend of mine recommended a motion to vacate under Rule 60B. And then I got wind in my sails again, and I spent a full month on this document and really picking through all of the judge's errors, his misconduct, his bias, and that's what a Rule 60B motion to vacate is. It's all the things that the court did wrong. And I'm hoping that it's going to get the lower court open back up again, but I don't know. I'm kind of like spitballing. And I filed it on Monday along with 65 pages of exhibits showing the court all the time that I asked Carmel for records. This is going back to 2021, all the litigation hold memos that I submitted. And I got it in Monday night, and Tuesday the court ordered the defendants to respond by July 14th, which means back in the game. And I don't know how this whole thing is going to play out. I would assume he's going to deny it because he's a wanker, okay? I mean, watch my language, but I have a few choice words to say about this judge. Because I had my opponents dead to rights last March. When I figured out that he was not authorized, I should have won last March. And he has cost me another, a year and a half, 15 months of my life. Okay, but what that means, the notification that I got yesterday was that after this whole thing runs its course, I have the ability to refile the notice of appeal, and I'm not going to make the same mistakes again, and I'm back in the game.
Nice. What I've seen so far from, your work and the follow-up videos, and if anybody that's watching right now, if you just type in Theresa Buccola on YouTube, you're going to find a bunch of videos and you're going to find interviews. It seems like everybody wants to interview you regarding this type of stuff because it's a massive case. As a matter of fact, when you were actually arrested on the beach, everybody shared your video. It went viral on a lot of different channels and your story was big. And because I think you're fighting it so hard and you're going out of your way to, make sure that it's not just justice for you, but for everybody involved. I think that's why everybody wants to interview you and wants to know what's going on with the story. Luckily, I got the interview with you 5 years later. Thank you for that, Theresa. One of the things that I've seen on your channel is you've done a lot of homework. You've done a lot of research. You show a lot of case laws on your videos, which is outstanding. So anybody that wants to fight their cases pro se, now we're going to get into why this interview is important. A lot of people want to know how to fight certain cases. One thing I want to mention that I learned recently, before you guys file a complaint on a police officer, make sure you ask for discovery first. Make sure you get the body cam footage. Make sure you get the police reports. Because then if you file a complaint, they will lock it down and they'll say it's under investigation. And they won't release any of that to you until after the fact that the Internal Affairs has done their investigation on that.
Okay.
So I think that's important to point out as well for all of you guys out there that are gonna approach this in a pro se way. And do you have any tips for people? Because obviously you've learned a lot along the way trying to fight this pro se. What are some of the tips that you can give some of the people that are watching right now that are thinking about doing this pro se? You have any tips for them?
I would say that I get a huge kick out of it. I find it to be really fun to catch particularly the attorneys or the shysters, really. I love catching them in lies, in exposing their ignorance, their incompetence, their fraud, and it's really empowering to find out how much you can actually do when you put a little elbow grease into it. Prior to filing the lawsuit, I was getting a bunch of fraudulent responses from Carmel about why they couldn't disclose this record, they couldn't disclose that record, and then I would research and I would get a huge kick out of it. It's like, oh, this is another lie. This is a case that compels them that they have to disclose this record. So I would love writing, a long email citing quotes from cases and throwing it back in their face. It's like, nah. You guys don't know your job. I know your job better than you do. And I think that, if your viewers can understand that the pen is mightier than the sword, And you have no idea how much turmoil you're going to cause behind the scenes just by exposing their ignorance and their arrogance. And that would be one of the tips. The other thing is, do not look for the silver bullet, or that you're going to be able to go into court and utter these magic words like abracadabra or open sesame, and then the judge and the prosecutor are going to, genuflect in front of you and, give you a pass. That there is something, you can, I don't want to say magic, but when you work hard, the universe will respond in kind. And, I think it takes a certain amount of courage, I guess. Even though I don't really see myself as having courage, it's kind of like giving a dog a biscuit because the dog barks. Well, it's just the nature of the dog, right? But if you are determined and you keep working, and this isn't always the case, but you will build up a shield of armor around yourself, because you saw the video where Maldonado almost ripped me out of the car, right? And then he ran my license and he left me alone.
You need your driver's license, your registration, and insurance.
Okay. If I present you with any papers, are they going to be used against me in a court of law?
So I'm not going to do this back and forth with you. I need your driver's license, registration, and insurance. If you do not provide that, I'm going to remove you from the car. You will be arrested, and I'm going to tow the car.
I would like your supervisor, please.
Okay. I'm not going to keep going around and around with you. So license, registration, insurance, are you going to provide those items?
I would like your supervisor, and I'm going to remain silent.
Okay, remain silent all you want. This is a lawful traffic
Under
stop.
duress,
You're
okay?
lawfully detained, okay?
I just want to make sure that I understand.
Just listen to me for a
If
second.
I violate my
I'm not gonna
Fourth
keep
and
going
Fifth
on and on
Amendment
for-
rights, you are going to confine me. I can get out of the car. Yes, I can.
If you want to remain on the car, can you just sit right there or stand on the sidewalk? Do something?
I'm going to stand right here. You're not going to order me around, okay? Officer Gerald Maldonado.
You're detained right now, okay?
And what crime have I committed?
Just have a seat right there.
What crime have I committed?
Have a seat right there.
What crime have I
I'm not gonna do
committed?
this sovereign citizen stuff with you.
Now you know who I am?
I know who you are from here. So you're not the registered owner of the vehicle.
Okay.
This time I'm going to give you a warning since you're not the registered owner.
Just give me the papers.
I can't give you a ticket for the car that's not yours, you know what I mean?
Then I had a standoff with deputies on July 4th of 2024, where I got my car stuck in a ditch and they were harassing me and we had a standoff. Did you see that, David?
Yeah.
Okay. There was a big crowd of people. Then they ran my license, and then they gave me back my license and let me drive away. Then I got arrested again. It was July 27th, I think, of 2024. I'm walking down the street. I got thrown in cuffs, strapped in the back of the sheriff's vehicle. It was really scary. 9:30 at night, they ran my name and they let me walk away. So that's 3 times now, because freedom isn't free, right? And I am not special. I just work hard. And a lot of these guys, not all of them, I don't hate the cops, a lot of them are predators. And they hear all the time, I'm going to sue you. It doesn't really mean anything to them. So you have to raise yourself out of the category of being prey and remain calm. And I think that, like I said, not every time. Oh, another thing is, I would recommend that if you do have a standoff with them and you can sense that violence is incoming, just comply. You don't want to get your teeth knocked out. You don't want to get killed, particularly if you are somewhere where there's nobody else around. Just comply, and then you can deal with them later. So those are some of the tips. And you can also catch the judges in lies and incompetence. And I've got to make a video of this. I have the recording of the last time that I faced off against Judge Cousins. And I didn't know if I was going to come out of the courthouse or I was going to get, held in contempt. But I tied him up in knots. And there was at least once where what I asked him made him so uncomfortable. He stared at me in mute silence like a deer in the headlights. So if people want to watch my channel, I'm going to come up with a video over the next couple of days, and you can hear what your viewers are going to be able to do. And there's no need to scream. That's another thing. Another tip is you can't go in there, like a loose cannon and say things like, you're violating my rights. This is against the law. You can't do this to me. It's not going to win, because I have a theory about judges that they are trained in how to pry you with questions to see if you wrote your own documents, and if you are one of those sovereign citizens, or if you really you have knowledge on your own case. And I think that they have a battery of questions that they ask you because they're trying to figure out who you are. And if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you'll be able to catch the judge. And it's thrilling. So I think those are some of my tips. Yeah.
Really good tips. A lot of people want this. A lot of people want to learn how to fight for themselves in court. We live in the age of information, the age of technology, and lawyers are people too. ChatGPT is coming out with the new ChatGPT law. We have lawyers at the palm of our hands, right? Of course, it's not where it needs to be right now. It is getting smarter. Obviously, artificial intelligence is getting smarter every day. And I want to be able to bring everybody here to this channel, tell their stories. I got a lot of questions for people. I want to learn how to do these things as well, just like many of you guys do. If you guys are watching this video, leave some comments, some questions in the comment section, and I'll be dropping Theresa Buccola's channel links in the description and in the pinned comment. I want you guys to go subscribe to her channel and leave her some questions on my channel or on hers as well, and she'll be in the comment section trying to respond to you guys, and hopefully we can get the people to really start honing in on how to fight. It's going to take a lot of understanding case laws, like Theresa has laid out on her channel, procedures. That's extremely important. Things that you need to file on time. And because I do believe that the courts are designed as well. The lawyers know this, the district attorneys know this, the prosecutors, the judges, they all know this. And it's designed so that we continue to be a dependent people, not know how these things operate, not know how these things work, so that they can take advantage and just wipe their hands clean, and everybody, they walk away, you get no justice, and then they make it seem like it's your fault. And
that's right.
The courts are designed to win at all costs. So is there anything else that you would like to add, given some kind of information or knowledge?
I think I talked about this the last time, but it bears repeating. This is not in every instance. There are certain times where you will need a lawyer. For example, if you have a multi-million-dollar corporation and you need a corporate lawyer and you're way too busy and he's been studying it for 20 years, right? But in that case, you will need it. But I think typically they exist in order to pander to people's fear and laziness, because you can just hand off your future or a year in jail, and then when it's not going your way, you can blame the lawyer, okay? It's not up to the lawyer to keep you out of jail, or that you have to be working with them in tandem, right? So be prepared to do your own research. Now, I wanted to talk about one tip is I use Grok quite a bit, and I'm also on a Zoom class. I do a Zoom class once every week. So people can get involved with Zoom classes. You can have regular contact with other pro se litigants. Now, what I found with using Grok is it can be very tricky. So you can't punch something into AI or Grok and then trust the response that it gives you. It will give you a foundation, but then you have to cross-reference it. It's like a big puzzle. It's kind of one of the reasons I'm so good at this is because that's what I do is my stained glass puzzles, right? You have to go to the federal code, you have to read the case that it recommends, and then what you can do is you can drop a whole bunch of your documents into Grok. It will give you a response, and then you can take that response and plug it into Edge or Poe or Claude Sonnet, and then you can keep working them back and forth in order to refine your documents. Yes, that's another tip that I forgot. Grok is a very powerful weapon in a pro se litigant's pocket.
I think giving people a way to approach this, I think will get people started immediately. Not knowing how to do this. Some people work in construction. They don't have time to study law. And you're 100% right. Lawyers have been studying. There are a lot of different approaches to, pro se litigation. And I think understanding what type of law practice you're going to be dealing with, I think that's extremely important.
You can either do the free Grok, and it is not as user-friendly. So I pay $30 a month, and then you can upload a whole bunch of documents at the same time. So I will upload, the transcript, and then his ruling, and the documents that preceded the ruling, and I would say, okay, was his ruling appropriate, or was it not appropriate? And then it will give me it'll generate a long response. And a lot of the times it misses things. So I have to keep refining how it's reading what I'm asking it to do. I'll say, no, he didn't say that here. What he said was this. So it will take me hours sometimes to keep getting the answer that I need. And it will say, okay, these are the strengths of your argument. These are the weaknesses. And then you have to legitimately analyze whether or not the weaknesses are proper. And then I use Edge for language refinement, because I don't like the ways that Grok tells me to respond to things. I prefer Edge. And I'll tell people, so the judge conned me last March, and he adjudicated 2 of my motions under an inapplicable rule and case law. And I trusted him at the time. And I punched, and it was like 14 months of a long con. And I punched in documents into Grok, not even remembering that what I thought was wrong. And Grok said, well, it says in Rule 11 that he must strike an unsigned paper. And I said, no, it doesn't say that. And Grok said, yes, it does. And then I read the rule. So Grok helped me to piece together, he helped me to overcome a con by the court. So A lot of the times just punching in these documents, and it's going to help you to see things that you had completely forgotten about.
It seems like it's possible that if you know and understand how to use these things properly, it's possible that they might even do a better job than an attorney that you actually pay money for.
Yeah.
And this is another thing I think is important as well, folks. Just because you pay for an attorney or maybe you can afford it, that doesn't mean that you should just put all your trust into that attorney as well. I've used public defenders before. People are like, oh, public defenders, they work for the courts, and they do, and I get that. But there's times where I've used public defenders just because I couldn't afford an attorney. And I've had to push them to say certain things, to, give the judge these case laws, put them on his desk, and make sure that they understand certain things. And even in family law, one time they ruled against me, and I kept telling my attorney to let the judge know that I was never served. And even though the judge had already ruled against me, I stood up and I was like, Your Honor, I've been telling my attorney to tell you, and she keeps saying that it's just a moot. but I was never served. I was like, Your Honor, all I ask is that you please, bring forth the proof of service. I was never served properly. And the judge looked through the file that he had in front of him, and he says, well, you're right. I don't see anything. Give me a few minutes to go to the back. And he comes back and says, you're 100% correct. You were never served. So we're just going to go ahead and throw this case out. You guys have to start over. This time, do it the right way. And so if I would not had known that I wasn't served properly, if I didn't stand up for myself, even though this public defender was garbage, didn't help me, I had to stand up for myself along the way and say, hey, this is not right. So even though you get a public defender, you can force them to do the job that they need to do sometimes, right? Not all the time. But that even goes with attorneys that you pay high dollar for, And I always say this, if you go speak to an attorney, ask them if they know the Bill of Rights, if they can spit it out verbatim. If they know the Bill of Rights and they spit it out verbatim, then you might have a good attorney there. Because there's a lot of attorneys out there that don't even know what your natural rights are. And they're going to say everything that you have to say, all your arguments, it's all a moot. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think making sure if you do hire one that you are watching them closely, right? If they are still misbehaving, you have bar grievances that you can file. And what I typically do is the bar always says we're closing your complaint. I've actually been defined as a vexatious complainant bar because I filed so many. But now when I get we're closing your complaint, I immediately file a complaint against the investigator. Right? So, here's another thing. A huge tip is, I think the most important one, you only lose when you stop fighting. If you're determined to win, you are going to win. It may take a lot longer than you want it to take. And I know a lot of people say, well, don't expect that the courts, you could lose. In my experience, you will win if you keep putting one foot in front of the other. It just takes a lot of work. So, yeah.
Outstanding. I want to bring you back on in the near future. You guys subscribe to Theresa Buccola's channel, which I recommend that you do. But I will bring you back on, and we'll discuss, the lawsuit and where you're at. Maybe we'll get the final outcome of it. Win or lose, I do believe you're a champion for the people, and there's something special about you. I don't know why a lot of these things happen on 4th of July around you, but I think that's a message to the entire United States that they picked the wrong one to mess with on the wrong day. Theresa Buccola, everybody. Theresa, thank you so much for this interview.
Hey, David, before we sign off, can we say, when you flash it up later, can you ask people for it or to show the donations page?
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Can we do that?
Yeah, no doubt. You guys give her some donations, help her out. She has been fighting not just for her rights, but your rights as well. And I will put her donation links in the description and in the pinned comment as well. You guys send her some love and support. I definitely appreciate you, Theresa. I know I've had you on before, and I want to thank you for coming on again. And I've seen you on some other channels. John Felix has interviewed you. You're amazing. There's a reason why people want to talk to you. You're one of the people like all of us, but you're a champion for the people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, David. And I love your channel. And I definitely appreciate the subscribers that you brought to my channel too. And it's really an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you, Theresa.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.